What's he doing, man?
Okay.
Can we be honest that if Biden did that, every right winger would say his brain fell out of his head, dementia?
Yeah.
President Trump is perfectly healthy.
That makes me think, no, he's not.
Not do any more questions. Let's just listen to music. Let's make it into a music. Who the hell wants to hear questions, right? Get that song done.
Okay.
Get that song ready,
Got
and
that
when
song
we leave,
pulled
we're
up?
gonna have a beautiful. You could just sit. And by the way, when we leave, you don't have to go so fast. You could sit and listen. We'll play a couple of songs. Some of you will be a little warm, but that's okay. It's not a bad thing. And if you want, we're gonna do that. But I think it would be beautiful, don't you think? A little different.
Donald Trump held a town hall in Oaks, Pennsylvania last night, and it turned into more of a listening party when he decided, yeah, let's not take any more questions at my town hall and instead listen to some of my favorite jams. Now, look, we're gonna show you clips from the town hall. Obviously, we had to change the music to royalty-free music, considering the fact that we'd get copyrighted if we show the original videos with the original music. So I want to give you that disclosure. But without further ado, let's get into the details of the story. Now, he did take questions for about 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden, there were individuals in the audience who ended up fainting. Apparently, the room was very hot. So one person fainted at the town hall, apparently because of the heat. So the Q&A temporarily paused. And then another person fainted, at which point Trump felt it was appropriate to say this.
Personally, I enjoy this. We lose weight. You know, no, you lose weight. We could do this, lose 4 or 5 pounds. It's okay with me.
Kamala Harris is.
But some people have been waiting here for 2 days for this, so you know it's a little bit tough. But they're both okay.
Yes.
They're both in good shape.
And that's wonderful.
Would anybody else like to faint? Please raise your hand.
Let's do it now.
Please raise your hand.
Now, as the individuals who fainted were getting some medical care, you know, he asked that music be played, and he kept thanking the doctors as they were providing care to the people who had fainted. So when the music was playing during that part of the town hall, I thought it was totally fine. But then all of a sudden he decided he didn't really feel like answering any more questions. And then he wanted to listen to some more music. So take a look.
You know what we could do though? If my guys can do it, how about we'll do a little music. Let's make this a musical fest. And let's listen to Pavarotti sing Ave Maria. Can you hear that?
Okay, so he apparently loves Ave Maria because he asked for that to be played multiple times during this jam session, I guess. And I want to show you the video. Now, keep in mind, Ave Maria was actually playing in the background, but we replaced the music.
What's he doing, man?
Okay, that went on for a while. It did. It went on for a while. Other songs played, and I was like, oh my God, get off the stage. Like, don't just sway back and forth. It's super awkward. Luckily, he did go interact with the crowd as the music was playing in the background at some points, but it was very awkward when he was just standing on stage, swaying back and forth as Pavarotti was playing, and everyone else was just kind of like looking around. No one looked more uncomfortable than Kristi Noem.
I was gonna say,
okay.
She's like, man, what I would do to get that dog back, I'll take that over this.
Don't say it, Cenk. Okay. Terrible.
So look, a person faints, you got a 2-minute pause, no problem, right? 2 people faint, oh, the super. Look, I've been in those situations where you're on stage. 2 minutes is an eternity.
A lifetime, definitely.
Okay, an eternity. Okay. 2 people fainted. Wow, you went 5 minutes. You went 10 interminable minutes, okay? But I get it, 2 people fainted and you want to be respectful. Then he does the joke. I don't care about the joke. That's totally fine, okay? It's insensitive, I get it, but he always jokes around. But guys, 39 minutes of bobbing to music, that's weird. So
look, I'm gonna make a quick caveat. So it wasn't all Ave Maria, right? Like Ave Maria, in my opinion, beautiful song, beautiful song. Weird choice for a town hall event, okay? So there were other songs that he played, like he loves YMCA. So like if you wanna liven things up, da da da. Da, 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 da. I got it, right? But the Ave Maria, like to just stand there for the entirety of the song, everyone's looking around, you're just like, I get being in that zone.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm stoned alone at home, okay? But not in front of a crowd at a town hall or a rally or a political event. This is crazy.
So I mean, people speculate that he's saying something. I have no idea, and I don't care.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt. I don't know, and that's not a thing that's that likely given his history and stuff. But okay, so he said. By the way, there was another funny moment where right before they played YMCA, he said, "We're going to make the country gayer," and then they played YMCA. I was like, okay.
I would not expect that at a Republican town hall.
Yeah, and I think that he meant in the context of that sentence, like the old school meaning of gay, like as in happy, jolly, okay?
Okay.
And then he kind of stopped himself near the end of saying gayer, okay? And then they play YMCA and it's lies. But that's none of that matters, okay? 39 minutes of bobbing to music. And remember, we just showed you the video where he said, they're okay. If they're okay, why don't you go back to the questions or speak, do a speech? Like you said, they waited 2 days for this event. So why don't you give them something? Why did you sit around for 39 minutes not taking any questions? It's just, okay. Can we be honest that if Biden did that, every right winger would say his brain fell out of his head, dementia.
Yeah.
39 minutes of standing around for no reason at all.
Okay, but I want to be fair. He didn't literally stand around for 39 minutes. Like for the Ave Maria song, he did stand there for the entirety and just awkwardly swayed back and forth. When other songs were playing, he went into the crowd and interacted. So I want to be fair because I think that the way the media is portraying it, if you don't watch the full town hall and you're just gonna fall for what the media is saying, they make it seem like he's literally just standing there awkwardly for 39 minutes. That is not what happened, but he did stand there awkwardly for some portions, and I don't know why he did that. In fact, Kristi Noem tried to get him back on track, She's like, all right, let me help a brother out. This is a little super awkward. And so a teleprompter prompted Trump to take 2 more questions from the crowd before pivoting to music. And he ignored it. He totally ignored it. He's like, no, I'm having a good time. And thus proceeded 39 minutes of Trump standing on stage, doing hand motions, interacting with the crowd a little bit. But the point is, in those 39 minutes, no more questions. Let's take a look at another video of what the scene looked like.
Well, sir, do you want to play your song and then greet a few people, or do you want to? Well, you had said you wanted to close with a specific song.
Okay, let's do a couple of
2 more fast questions.
So, Justin, how about a couple of really beauties?
I can't. What? Come on.
Come on, if Biden had done it. Come on.
Look at the guy behind him, looking around. What is going on?
If Biden had done this, if Kamala Harris had done this, if Tim Walz had done this.
He looks like he's trolling them.
Jesse Waters right now would be in the middle of a segment. A man doesn't move like that. I know real men, and real men don't move like this. Okay. Or like this. I
don't know what's going on.
Look at the time. Look at the time stamps. It won't end. It's unbelievable. It's 8:26 now.
He has managed to close the lead that Kamala Harris had.
Yeah,
just let that sink in.
No, guys, I think they're both trying to lose. Okay, so she took.
I don't want to be president.
Yeah, so Trump had a significant lead against Biden. Kamala Harris is good in the beginning. She takes the lead, and ever since Kamala Harris took the lead, they've both been trying to lose. So Kamala Harris then goes, "Oh yeah, I love Dick Cheney. Oh yeah, I love corporate CEOs." Oh, she loses the lead. Trump's like, "Oh yeah, I'll say that we're going to use the military against American citizens." Oh yeah? Okay. I'll stand on stage for 39 awkward minutes. Okay. and make everybody think I'm a lunatic. Okay.
Among the songs he danced to was "It's a Man's World," which is an interesting choice considering the fact that he's running against Kamala Harris, a woman. He also asked in the middle of it if the audience wanted him to take one more question. They actually cheered. Okay, because they want him to answer the question.
They don't want him doing this the whole time like a weirdo zombie. They came to hear you talk.
Not only talk,
God help them.
They have obviously issues that they want addressed by their political leaders. Of course they want the questions answered.
By the way,
he proceeded, by the way, to ignore them, and that's when he demanded that they play YMCA.
Okay, so now let's talk about the other thing that's going on here. He turned down a 60 Minutes interview. He almost never turns down interviews. So now he's only doing friendly interviews. That's weird, that's very un-Trump, right? Normally he'd just blitzkrieg into CNN, MSNBC, et cetera, wherever. But turning down a big 60 Minutes interview, I've never seen Trump do that, right? Turning down another debate, especially when he was losing. Okay, now it's a little bit more understandable because I think he has a tiny lead right now, okay? Although he's trying to give it away, right? And now he doesn't even want to take friendly questions from the audience.
But do you want to know why? It's always fun to stay at the Y. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. No, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why he did this. It was awkward. You should respect your supporters who really wanted you to answer their questions, you know? And I can understand feeling burnt out from the campaigning. It is difficult to do, it's straining mentally and physically, but if you're gonna hold a town hall, please respect your supporters and answer their questions.
Yeah,
all right.
Mental decline.
So Kamala Harris has weighed in on this, and I'm glad that she did. So the Kamala Harris headquarters X account said Trump appears lost, confused, and frozen on stage as multiple songs play for 30+ minutes. And the crowd pours out of the venue early. That last part, I did not see that, okay, to be fair. Kamala Harris quote tweets it and says, hope he's okay. But Trump dismissed the critics and acted like nothing weird happened at all.
No, of course not. No.
Here's his post on Truth Social. I had a town hall in Pennsylvania last night. It was amazing. The question and answer was almost, or the Q&A was almost finished when people began fainting from the excitement and heat. We started playing music while we waited and just kept it going. So different, but it ended up being a great evening.
Did it?
New York Times headline, Donald Trump cut off questions and simply bobbed his head to the music for half an hour after a town hall was interrupted. And in that piece, they write, Mr. Trump, a political candidate known for improving departures, made a detour. Rather than try to restart the political program, he seemed to decide in the moment that it would be more enjoyable for all concerned, and it appeared for himself to just listen to music instead.
I can't imagine doing a town hall. 30 minutes I take Q&A, and for 40 minutes I listen to my iTunes, but with the crowd. So, I mean, look, people say they're sane washing Trump, and I think there's some truth to that. I think he's been crazy for a long time, but he's getting worse and worse. Every one of his answers is nonsensical. As I said, mentioned earlier in the show, he did a Bloomberg interview today, and the guy asked him, what do you think about Google? He gives a nonsensical answer about Virginia. And then the interviewer has to say, I'm sorry, sir, I was asking you about Google. And then he says,
oh yeah, what about Virginia?
Yeah, no, but you know what? He said, yeah, good. He's asking, should they be broken up? Do they have monopoly issues? A very legitimate question that's in the news, right? Then when he finally gets to the answer on Google after Virginia, and then he says, they've been very, very bad to me. They've been very bad to me. That's not the question. The question is do they have monopoly power? We didn't ask you how you felt about how you got into your feelings about Google. Right? I saw 20 articles. They said they were gonna be fair to me, but all the 20 were negative. I know there's good articles out there, but they weren't fair to me at all. I mean, come on, guys, it's embarrassing. So you're gonna vote for this guy who's obsessed with himself, in mental decline, falling apart at the seams. We're gonna have 4 years of this? This is exactly what you hated about Biden, and now you got it under Trump. You must be so proud.
By the way, I should note, the New York Times did change their headline later. I don't know why they changed it, but it currently reads, Trump bobs his head to music for 30 minutes in odd town hall detour.
You know why? My guess is because their first headline and subtitle too, I read the header, were like, made it seem like it was normal. Like, oh, there was just music and he decided to go along with the music, etc. Especially the subheader, I'm sorry that we don't have that for you guys. And then people complain, they're like, what are you doing? And then they mentioned, oh, it's odd, yeah.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, so that's some of the original headline was some of the sane washing that you're referring to. I got it, yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, this election is devastating. It's just devastating. For me, personally, it's devastating. Like you have Kamala Harris cozying up with neocons, you have Trump. Trump is Trump. By the way, I'm not a Trump supporter. In case anyone was wondering, I'm still not a Trump supporter. So it's just, you check in on both campaigns. I watched some of the rallies, is there anything I can like latch onto to give me a little bit of hope with this election? It's just dire, and I'm keeping it real with you guys. It's just,
guys, look here, I'll give you my perspective.
Remember Howard Dean lost the opportunity to win when he was running for president. That was during the primaries, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he made a funny sound on stage. He made a funny sound.
Imagine if Howard Dean just danced for 39 minutes strait.
How is Howard Dean not the angriest person in the country?
I know, right?
I mean, that was a
by the way,
weird sound, but
no,
still.
No, that got amplified. Remember back then Howard Dean was the progressive candidate.
Yes.
And the press amplified the scream to make him sound crazier. Because the press are a bunch of jerks who are corporate goons who hate the idea of change.
My point is that's about as far as crazy went with our politicians back then.
But Anna, the reason why I'm less like dispirited by this race than you are is because, yeah, I knew we were going to get terrible options in every race for the rest of my life. That's why I was shocked by Bernie. The fact that Bernie came out and had a real chance of winning. On the one hand, I predicted in 2013 that he could be Hillary Clinton, but I guess I didn't dare to hope and believe, right? And he came so close, and it gave us such huge hope for that window of time that change was possible. But now that Bernie's too old and we're back to the corporate goons and the lunatics, there's, you have to do a populist revolt. Whether it's Kamala Harris or Donald Trump who wins, you have to. But I know the MAGA guys won't revolt against Trump, although I'm less certain about that, believe it or not. And blue MAGA would never, ever revolt against Kamala Harris. They'll be the people who fight us the most if Kamala wins. I'm gonna give last word to concept of a username who thought I wouldn't read this. I don't know why he thought that, because I think I agree with him. Honestly, I'm tired of the question, why is Kamala and the Dems doing this strategy? It's so friggin' obvious, yet my TYT and progressive media continue the narrative. The current Democratic Party is filled with former GOP members who left the Republican Party, Tea Party 2009 invasion, giving way to the Trump era. So the political consultants today in the Dem Party are doing old school Republican style campaigning. That is why they're trying to go towards the right to gather like-minded voters also tired of Trump. The Dems are center right while the GOP is hard right. There's no more organized left wing. Today, the true left always eats itself with bickering and infighting. This will never get read, though. But brother, that's such interesting because that's exactly what we say on the show.
I might have never agreed with a comment more in my life. I totally agree with you. That is why I'm struggling right now with this election.
Do you really believe that these people are eating the people's pets?
And eating other things too.
This is where we are. This is our election. Welcome to America. An undecided Latino voter who's actually a longtime registered Republican asked Donald Trump about some of his rhetoric in regard to immigration and specifically the Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio. This was during a Univision town hall. Now, Trump's response didn't inspire any confidence that his divisive rhetoric is gonna change anytime soon. We're gonna get to his answer in a second. But first, let me read the question that was asked by the undecided voter. He asks, the authorities in Springfield, Ohio more than one time clarified that the Haitians are not eating their cats and their dogs. Nonetheless, you want to revoke the permanent, basically the visa they have to legally reside in the country. Do you really believe that these people are eating the people's pets? Now, here is how Donald Trump responded.
This was just reported. I was just saying what was reported. That's been reported. And eating other things too that they're not supposed to be. But this is all I do is report. I have not. I was there. I'm going to be there, and we're going to take a look. And I'll give you a full report when I do. But that's been in the newspapers and reported pretty broadly.
He's just a reporter, guys. He's just a reporter. I mean, he heard reports and then he repeats the reports. He doesn't look into it. He doesn't question anything that, might sound a little outlandish, because if he has an opportunity to demagogue and engage in incredibly gross, inaccurate, false, hateful rhetoric that's gonna direct hatred toward innocent people who, by the way, are not in the country illegally. These are Haitian migrants who have temporary protected status. Okay, the United States government implemented the protected status for Haitians after there was a devastating earthquake in Haiti, and after some of our foreign policy kind of destroyed their country as well. And the idea that they're being demonized like this, and he just won't stop. He won't stop. Later in his answer, he brings up like relevant points. And if he had started with that, I would be fine with it, right? If he didn't go as low as making up these dumb stories, hateful stories that direct hatred toward innocent people, I'd be fine with it. But he can't do it, Cenk. He has to go this low, and he has to continue. Like, he never apologizes, he never recalibrates, he continues on with the garbage, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, so there's two things in that answer and even in the question that are so important to the substance of this issue, and I wanna come back to them in a second. But guys, what are we doing here? I mean, I watched Kamala Harris interview on Fox News, and she was relatively smooth. She didn't answer a couple of the questions. It really annoyed me that she didn't answer some of those questions. But then you turn to Trump, and he's like an escaped mental patient, right? And he's like, they're eating the cats, the dogs. They say the dogs are hot, but I don't know. Now they're eating other things like the tuna and the salmon. And I hear the Japanese are joining them. They're eating the tuna and the salmon too. They're calling it sushi, okay? And then they're taking the chicken and they're eating their eggs.
Raw.
They're eating it raw. It's disgusting. It's crazy. We've got to kick them out of here, okay?
They don't even cook it.
And they take the pigs and the cows and they even eat them. Sometimes, and they put them together and they call it a hamburger. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Okay. Sometimes they bury the pig to roast it.
Okay.
In the dirt.
Those are Hawaiians, we're kicking them out. Sir, they're Americans. I don't care because I just escaped and this feels like freedom to me. Thank God I got that white coat off of me. Okay, so look, should you vote for the mental patient? I don't know, I say put him back in, but anyways. They're trying to imprison. No, it's an analogy. All right, anyways. And he's just reporting it, guys. He's just reporting it. Every reporter has said it's not true. Every Republican in the area, the mayor, etc., have said it's not true. So why are you still reporting things that are untrue? That's because you're lying. We have a word for it. Okay.
Lying.
Exactly. I'm saying it like Trump so you can understand it.
Okay, so, go ahead, Cenk. Did you have something else?
Yeah, I wanted to get to the substance of it.
Yeah, so the second half of his response to this, again, Republican voter who's probably undecided in this election because he doesn't like the divisive crap that Trump is saying, right? But in the second half of his answer, he brings up some of the legitimate concerns, right? It's not demonizing the migrants, but there is a problem when you have a massive influx of people coming into a small town without the federal government providing the support that the town needs. That is a legitimate concern. So let's hear what Trump had to say.
As far as Springfield is concerned, because I do know that situation, you have a city of 52,000 people, and they've added almost 30,000 migrants into the city. If you were a person that lived there, if you lived in Springfield, Ohio, and all of a sudden you couldn't get into a hospital, you couldn't get your children into a school, you wouldn't be able to buy groceries, you could no longer pay the rent because the government's paying rent. Any of that, if any of that happened, it would be a disaster for you and you wouldn't be happy. We want to make our people safe and secure, and we want to make them happy. But Springfield, Ohio is a perfect example. You have a town, a beautiful little town with no problems. All of a sudden, they have 30 or 32,000 people dropped into the town.
Okay, so is it a little under 30,000? Is it 30 to 32,000? Like, notice that the numbers change. And Let's actually put it side by side. Let's take a look at the next video.
You have a city of 52,000 people, and they've added almost 30,000 migrants into the city. You have a town, a beautiful little town with no problems. All of a sudden, they have 30 or 32,000 people dropped into the town.
Okay, interesting. Well, prior to this, the number was lower when he was speaking about it. Let's take a look at that.
In Springfield, Ohio, 20,000 illegal Haitian migrants have descended upon a town of 58,000 people, destroying their way of life. They've destroyed the place.
So notice how in the town hall, he exaggerates the number of Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, because it doesn't matter. The facts don't really matter. This is an issue that he doesn't really seem all that interested in learning about and finding solutions for. It is a campaign issue for him. It worked for him in 2016. He's hoping it's gonna work for him now. And in the meantime, you have both migrants who are struggling and you have communities that are struggling. I actually do care about the people in Springfield, Ohio. I do think that it is difficult for a small town to take in a massive influx of migrants without help from the federal government. But we never find solutions to immigration because if we're all being honest, not a single politician actually cares about solving the issue once and for all. Not a single politician wants to reform immigration. A lot of these Republicans who purport to care so much about this issue are taking bribes, legal bribes from their campaign donors who do not want anything to be done about immigration because they love exploiting that cheap labor that they can pay even lower than minimum wage because they don't have the ability to go complain about it to the authorities. That's what the reality of this situation really is. And it disgusts me that whenever the campaigns start, this type of gross rhetoric demonizing innocent people pops up. I don't like it, it's divisive, and it is not helpful at all in terms of finding solutions for any problems we might have.
Okay, so he said illegal Haitian immigrants, but as the questioner pointed out, they actually do have legal status. So that's a fact, that's not arguable. So Trump's proposal, so actually before I explain Trump's proposal, Anna's proposal you just heard, which is, hey, if the federal government is going to put 20,000 immigrants in a town of 58,000, let's take Trump's original numbers, right? That's still a big number, and the federal government should help that town adjust. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to have some issues, right?
Of course.
And so that's a reasonable position to take. That's a position I hope all of us take so that it's not all on the residents of Springfield, right? Now, Trump's position is not that. Trump's position is take away their legal status. And that was the exact question that gentleman asked. He said, you say this conspiracy story about the pets and the being eaten, and then you said, so I'm going to take away their legal status. Are you really going to take away their legal status? And that's actually a really important question for a lot of people that live in this country, because a lot of people have green cards and temporary legal residence, and they haven't done anything wrong. They're not illegal at all, right? But and people have family members that are in that category. And Trump is now saying, if I make up a story that isn't even true at all and use that story, I could take away your legal rights. Well, that's concerning. I mean, that guy's a lifelong Republican that asked the question, but he's concerned about that, right? And that is a very legitimate concern. And Trump is saying, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You got legal rights? I don't care at all. If you're an immigrant, I'm gonna say you're illegal. I'm just gonna strip you of your rights. And by the way, when he was in office the first time, yeah, he got checked by the establishment and they put some brakes on his car, but he had suggested, and Stephen Miller had suggested, well, even if you're already a US citizen, if you came from another country, are you really a citizen? So they're even thinking of taking birthright citizenship away. So this is not hyperbole. Stephen Miller suggested it, you could look it up. So what he's proposing is terrible. And if you actually care about immigration, which Anna does, I do, and so many people on the right and the left do, well then this is the one thing Kamala Harris is definitely right about. Why did he prevent the bill that everyone agrees to, that an Oklahoma Republican wrote, that actually is largely, it should be embarrassing to the Democrats, is not only a completely Republican bill, it's largely Trump's ideas. And he said, vote no, I don't want the problem fixed because I want to use it in my campaign. He's a terrible guy who only thinks about himself. He doesn't care about the laws. He doesn't care about breaking the laws. He just cares about power. And finally, the guy was using an interpreter, just to be clear, right? He speaks Spanish better than he speaks English, guy asking the question. And Trump, in the middle of his crazed answer about how he's going to take away their legal status, etc., said, you know, that's terrible. A lot of people, they don't even speak the language and you can't talk to them. And then they have to bring in all these interpreters. It's terrible. The guy was using an interpreter for the question.
Yeah, I'm sure he definitely persuaded the individual to vote for Trump in the election. I mean, it's just, look, it's amazing because I actually think it would be even more difficult to beat Donald Trump if he had a little bit of self-control. But he doesn't have self-control.
Oh my God, if he had self-control, he'd be up by 10, easy. I mean, first of all, if he had self-control, he wouldn't have done January 6th and try to murder his own vice president and try to terminate the Constitution and send in an angry mob to attack our Capitol. And we're still having a conversation, and the Democrats are still losing to him by a little bit right now. At best case scenario, they're tied right now to that guy. And the Democrats don't realize that they have a problem. They think everything's hunky-dory.
No, they do think they have a problem. They think their problem is Jill Stein.
Jesus Christ, guys, man. Democrats do better. You should be blowing this guy out. He's an escaped mental patient. And if you're tied with him, well, you gotta fix your own problems. Good luck to us in doing that because the establishment never ever wants to do that. And Republicans, if you wanna win an election, try someone non-insane for a change. I know, a radical thought. But you'd win fairly easily in this context with a super weak Democratic Party.
Kamala Harris is probably the last person in America who should be talking to anyone about health records or things that doctors have to say, when she, as the vice president to Joe Biden, was the principal liar to the entire country about the condition that the current president of the United States finds himself in physically and mentally.
We all know that there's a difference between a letter signed off by a physician versus the actual medical file. I wouldn't even be asking you this question today if you guys just put it out there. Again, there can't really be much left we don't know.
President Trump is perfectly healthy.
That makes me think, no, he's not. So that's Fox News, and they're asking Tim Martow, a spokesperson for Trump, hey, how come he's not releasing his medical records? Kamala Harris has. Trump put out a hilarious letter, as he usually does, from his doctor saying, he's in incredible health. He is one of the healthiest people who have ever lived. You know, the usual nonsense. Really, MAGA, you guys believe that? I mean, that's unbelievable. All right, so, but then Trump got mad because he then read Kamala Harris's medical records. So, woohoo, there's some doozies in there. So let me be fair here and quote Trump for you guys. He said, I've just seen Kamala's report and it is not good. According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round, red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, a very messy and dangerous situation. Is it? Yeah, Edwin just guessed it. It's allergies. It's hives and allergies.
Look, to be fair, it does sound a lot more serious than it is. But yeah, that's just
But everybody knows it's
talk
allergies.
for allergies,
right?
yeah.
And somebody told Trump, it's just allergies and hives. He's like, this is very dangerous hives and allergies. Very dangerous. Don't look at my medical files. Don't look at it. I mean, I was just sitting around, bobbing around for 39 minutes like I had lost my mind. But not because I have a medical problem. I don't have a medical problem. But do you know that Donald Trump, and this was in Trump brackets, we're gonna get to Trump brackets in a second, but it didn't make the final 64. He stole his own medical files from his original doctor in New York. He sent a bunch of thugs. They literally broke into the doctor's office. And the doctor's like, what the hell's going on? And they grabbed Trump's files and left. That's when he was president. There's something wrong in his medical files. You don't steal your own medical files unless there's something wrong.
Okay, I'm gonna say something that I'm sure everyone will disagree with, but I want you to put yourself in the shoes of anyone running for president, really, right? It's not just about Trump or Kamala. It's about anyone who wants to run for president. Think about your medical records and think about whether or not you would be comfortable just disclosing the entirety of your medical records to the public. Like, it's a touchy thing for a lot of people. So I get not wanting to release your medical records.
Yeah,
like I am perfectly healthy, but I wouldn't want to release my medical records.
Yeah, I understand it, Anna. But number one, you're running for president. So when you're running for president, your medical records.
We got to do anal probes too.
Yeah, kind of.
All right.
Because hey, by the way, Joe Biden said he was perfectly healthy.
Right, he
lied. And it turns out, if we had gotten a cognitive test, we would have found out that Joe Biden was not perfectly healthy. He was in massive mental decline. Are we supposed to worry about his feelings?
No, it's not that we should worry about their feelings. I'm just saying that people are not going to want to release their medical records, and I understand why. And it doesn't matter who the politician is. I'm just making a general point about that. Okay? I think that there should be a law forcing them to release their tax returns, for sure. Medical records, I think you need to be a little bit careful, but I hear what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. All right, so Trump went on though, undeterred by the allergies. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning. Come on, man, come on. Okay, yeah, you think this guy's mentally stable? Just total, utter moron who's like, I think that allergies and hives could impact how you function. No, your brain melting is impacting how you function. But hey, MAGA, go ahead, keep telling those sweet little lies to yourself. Oh no, Trump's great. He's really smart. He's really mentally fit. Okay, so she goes on to say, maybe that is why she can't answer even the simplest of questions asked by 60 Minutes and others. What is this all about? I don't have these problems. Oh, you don't have these problems. Because today at a Bloomberg interview, they asked him, what do you think about Google? Do you want to break it up? And he went on like a giant rant that had nothing to do with Google. It had to do with Virginia and the elections. And the interviewer's like, sir, I asked you about Google. No, there's somebody whose mental functions are definitely impacted, as limited as they already were. And that's Donald Trump. He said, I put out more medical exams than any other president in history. Obviously a lie. Aced 2 cognitive exams. Congratulations, that just means you don't have dementia. Back then, the doctor stated that my cognitive exams were exceptional. How could they be exceptional? Getting 100 means that you're a normal functioning brain that doesn't have dementia. That doesn't mean you're smart. God, you're so dumb. It's so it's painful to see how dumb Trump is. I'm far healthier than Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, and especially Kamala. Kamala's medical report is really bad. With all the problems that she has, there's a real question as to whether or not she should be running for president. My report is perfect. No problems.
I mean, look, if you're gonna say stuff like that, then you have to release your report. Like, come on.
Yeah, really perfect.
You can't just say my report is perfect. Kamala Harris she has a terminal illness with allergies. Like come on. Just if you're gonna say it, then you should be willing to provide evidence that your health is perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so MAGA, I know, he's a demigod. It doesn't matter if he's obviously lying. If his records are perfect, why would he not want to release them? I know, logic. I'm sorry, that's your kryptonite. Oh, do you want to catch feelings over? You supporting this moron, this deranged lunatic? Okay, so here's Trump brackets that is down to the final 8. Said there was very fine people on both sides about neo-Nazis. Go play this vote. These are super hard questions now. TrumpBrackets.com versus impeached for refusing peaceful transition of power. You see, that usually kind of ends it for a politician in America when you say, we should terminate the Constitution and you should murder my vice president and I'd like to stay in power even though I lost. But apparently MAGA thinks that's democracy, or terminating the Constitution is what you need to do to save it. Okay, next question. Said there was very fine people on both sides about, oh no, I said that one. I'm gonna skip the video on it. Created policies that resulted in migrant children being put in cages versus convicted of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to affect an election. If you're saying, hey Cenk, these are all such terrible things, how do I decide what's worse? Well, that's kind of the point of TrumpBrackets.com. So I don't know what's gonna win. I don't know if it's gonna be any of these things. I don't know if it's gonna be saying he didn't mind his vice president being murdered. He's a terrible, terrible human being who's deranged, but currently slightly leading in the elections. All right, I'll give you one last thought about his derangement having nothing to do with Trump brackets because I want you to understand it. Listen to what he just said.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
You vote for that, you hate this country. He's saying enemy from within. Anytime that any Democrat said that about Republicans, I'd say, no, don't say that. That's what fascists say before they're about to wipe out their political opponents. That has a deep history. That's us turning on each other. It's okay to have super aggressive debates. It's not okay to say that fellow Americans are the enemy. And then he said the military will take care of it. No, we don't use the United States military against US citizens. Tyrants do that. Dictators do that. And if you just don't understand those simple concepts, you're gonna vote for Trump because you don't care. You want it to be a dictatorship. You want tyranny. All those years that the right wing said, oh my God, I need my guns to protect me against the tyranny of government. Here's this guy saying, I'm gonna use the military with anyone I disagree with because I'm gonna call them enemy from within. That's it. I'm gonna have tyrannical government. They're like, yes, yes, tyranny for the win, terminate the Constitution. Well, those are facts. Are you for it or are you against it? You vote for Trump, you're for it, period.
You thought Trump was showing signs of mental decline. That's a pretty serious accusation.
The reason Donald Trump is canceling these interviews is that when he starts to stumble, he starts to pivot. He cannot repeat consistently his position on key issues like the economy, like crime, or like immigration that are key issues to voters. And that's what you're seeing in his decline.
We are used to seeing him have a discursive speaking style, but it has gotten more rambling, it has gotten more incoherent, and it's gotten longer.
No, I'm just telling you basic, it's called the weave.
I think calling it the weave is PR to try to explain why he's talking this way.
Is Donald Trump really suffering from mental decline? It appears that is the dominant narrative currently on the left side of the political aisle, while conservative media is actually telling a completely different story. And I really do think that this is a perfect example of how it is that Americans, depending on how they identify politically, really do live in two completely different realities. This also gives us an opportunity to look into Donald Trump's hour-long interview just yesterday with Bloomberg's news editor-in-chief. His name is John Micklethwait, before the Chicago Economics Club. Now, look, one can certainly make Trump appear as an ADHD-addled boomer who makes little sense, who seems to be experiencing some cognitive decline, but it really depends on which portions of the hour-long conversation you pick. And so if you look at this compilation, he seems unhinged. He seems like he's suffering from mental decline. Take a look.
Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes.
But the question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah, look, Google's got a lot of power. They're very bad to me. If I can finish, I'll go longer if you want, if it helps, because you got to be able to. You move too quick. No, you got to be able to finish a thought because it's very important. You know, this is big stuff we're talking about. You can't go that quickly.
You've gone from the dollar to
so let me just tell you. So I said, no, I'm just telling you basic, it's called the weave. It's all these different things happening. Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, Michael.
But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here. If they said those sort of things about a rival CEO, they'd be sacked. Do you think it's
but they don't have to survive like me. They don't have to go through what I have to go through. The Mercedes-Benz will start building in the United States, and they have a little bit. But you know what they really are? Assembly, like in South Carolina. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
So I watched the entirety of the interview, and in my opinion, those are the highlights of Trump's worst moments. I don't think that he comes across as someone suffering from cognitive decline. I think he comes across as someone who is self-absorbed, obsessed with himself and his grievances. And he had an opportunity there to talk about an important potential policy when he was asked whether he believes it's a good idea to break up Google. Instead of answering the question, obviously, he immediately pivoted to, election-related BS about how he's being wronged and how the election is rigged against him. And quite frankly, I am so sick of him airing his grievances day in and day out. I get it. There are instances of people being unfair to him. There are also instances of people telling the truth about him and he doesn't like it. And so he gets upset about that. And so what could have actually been a great interview, he managed to destroy by, again, indulging in his own personal grievances. But I don't really get a sense that he's suffering cognitive decline, certainly not in the way that Joe Biden has been suffering cognitive decline. And that's the reason why he was replaced with Kamala Harris. Now, you have the left side of the political aisle, making this argument that, Trump is old. And he is old. He's 4 years younger than Biden, but that's still pretty up there in age. But you have the left making it seem as though, his cognitive function is almost synonymous with Biden's. I don't think that's true. Then you look at the right side of the political aisle and you get a completely different picture. And we all know that, based on how algorithms work, based on the type of media that gets recommended to people, that's really based on what they've been watching, Americans really live in two different bubbles, right? And so let's check in on the right. What did Sean Hannity have to say about Donald Trump's performance?
Former President Donald Trump absolutely schooled Bloomberg's editor-in-chief today during a live appearance at the Economic Club of Chicago. Despite things getting, a little heated at times, Trump frankly masterfully navigated the situation, laid out what was a clear vision for American prosperity.
To say that Donald Trump schooled the individual interviewing him, I think is a bit much. However, to be fair, there were some moments in this conversation where I feel that Trump did well, namely on questions about the US economy and specifically on the issue of tariffs. In fact, he actually surprised me at how disciplined he was at these portions of the interview. And it seems it's because of the fact that this is an issue he actually cares about. I mean, I don't think he really cares about possibly breaking up Google, which is why he immediately pivoted to something he does care about, his grievances. In this case, when it comes to tariffs, he really, really loves tariffs. I don't think he's fibbing about that at all. He pursued the tariffs against China during his administration. And so he did weigh in on that in a detailed way, even with pushback from the Bloomberg News editor-in-chief. So let's take a look at that portion.
Because I'm a believer in tariffs. I'm not sure that you are. I don't think you are, but I congratulate you on your career. But to me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff. And it's my favorite word. It needs a public relations term. The higher the tariff, the more likely it is to have them come into the country.
The higher the tariff, the more you're going to put on the value of that piece, those goods, the higher people are going to pay in shops.
Ready? The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory in the United States so it doesn't have to pay the tariff.
That will take many.
No, it will go quickly.
Years.
So there's two ways of looking at a tariff. You can do it as a money-making instrument, or you can do it as something to get the companies. Now, if you want the companies to come in, the tariff has to be a lot higher than 10%, because 10% is not enough. Guys, they're not going to do it for 10. But you make a 50% tariff, they're going to come in.
So if you notice his demeanor and the way he's answering the questions in these portions of the interview make clear that he's just behaving differently, right? Like he cares about this issue. He's able to message about where he stands on this issue. And, we have talked about tariffs on this show before. I'm a little more open toward tariffs, to be quite frank. Cenk is not as open as I am on tariffs. I think that certain tariffs could actually be beneficial to the US economy, but it's also very true that in the short term, tariffs could lead to inflation because the costs will be transferred over to the consumers. Now, is Trump's theory on tariffs true? Well, look, the US has a population of 333 million people, and that's a lot of consumers that companies are going to want to sell products to. if tariffs are too high, meaning if companies are exploiting cheap labor abroad, and then as they are, importing the products here in the United States, they're forced to pay these super high tariffs, that could potentially incentivize plants and factories to just produce the products here in the United States, especially if the US consumers are not willing to carry the cost of the increased tariffs, right? And so even Brookings, which is actually a liberal organization, confessed that Donald Trump's tariffs in his term, the ones that he actually implemented, spurred both job creation in the United States and it also increased federal government revenue. So let's take a look at this chart and I'll explain what we're looking at. So if you look at the final year represented in the chart, that's 2019. Brookings states that Trump increased tariffs on solar panels, washing machines, steel, and aluminum, as well as on a broad range of products from China. Overall, in 2019, the US government brought in $79 billion in tariffs, which is twice the value from 2 years earlier. So if you listen to his answer, he talks about how tariffs can be thought of as generating revenue. So that's what happened here when it came to Trump's tariffs in his first term. But there is a caveat, right? Because keep in mind that the federal government collects the revenue from the higher tariffs and then the costs associated with tariffs. Like let's say the company, making products or manufacturing products abroad brings those products here in the United States, pays high tariffs as a result of that. Those companies are going to transfer those costs usually to the consumers. But if the consumers are refusing to pay for the higher prices, companies are then going to look for ways to cut their costs so they can transfer lower prices to consumers and sell the products. And so Trump's theory is that the higher tariffs will eventually persuade these companies to manufacture in the United States, and that would lead to more manufacturing jobs here in the US. Now, when it comes to spurring job creation, Brookings also had to concede that Trump was correct in implementing tariffs on imported steel, because that did increase manufacturing jobs in the US, that specific tariff. They write that tariffs on steel products appear to have helped create several thousand jobs in the steel industry. Similarly, tariffs on washing machines are associated with approximately 1,800 new jobs at Whirlpool, Samsung, and LG factories in the United States. In these specific industries, then tariffs have probably been good for workers. Now, the problem with Trump is his form of communication, because he really is all over the place. He goes off on tangents as he's in the middle of talking about something or trying to make a concise statement about something related to the economy. And honestly, when it came to the portion of the interview where he's talking about steel, that's kind of what happened. Let's take a look.
I had a lot to do with steel. We were going to lose all our steel companies because China, as you remember, was dumping steel at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And I put a 50% tax on that and tariff on that, all dumped steel. And it was also bad steel. It was what they call dirty steel. It wasn't good steel, which is a bad thing for structural components of buildings and planes and things like that. They were dumping crap into our country. And I put a 50% tariff. I started at 25, I raised it to 50 because the 25 didn't quite do it. I raised it to 50 and that did it. They stopped dumping steel. And I saved our steel mills by having that. We saved it. We saved our steel. Now, what was left, because we've lost so much, but there are certain companies you have to have. There are certain things you have to have. Steel, you have to have. If you go to war, there's a possibility you go to war. I kept us out of war. I was the only president in 82 years that kept you out of a war, except I defeated ISIS, but I inherited that war. There's no wars. And by the way, and I think it's very important, we can go, I call it the weave. You can call it, you have the weave as long as you end up in the right location at the end.
No, stop weaving, stop weaving. You were talking about steel, and he was about to make a point about how it's important for the United States to manufacture steel products here on our soil because of national security concerns. That was the argument he was about to make. But before he even made that argument, his mind immediately wandered off to, I didn't start any new wars. I didn't start any new wars, even though I ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. I moved the US embassy to Jerusalem, which could have at that moment led to a war between Israelis and Palestinians. Obviously, the Iran nuclear deal being destroyed by Trump led to Iran being able to continue with a nuclear program. But now I'm going off on a tangent. But my point is, he's not a good communicator because his mind wanders. And it's almost like this stream of consciousness that's unhindered by wanting to put out like a concise, clear message. And so I think that's what he's getting hit by in terms of his detractors. I don't think it's a sign of cognitive decline. Obviously, he's able to reference things that he did accomplish during his term in office. He sometimes gets very specific and detail oriented with it during this same interview. So I don't think it's cognitive decline. I just think he's a poor communicator. But in regard to Trump's tariffs, Brookings also argues that many workers employed in factories used imported goods in their production processes. And when these imports increase in cost due to tariffs, it harms their production, often leading to job losses. That actually is a legitimate concern of high tariffs. But we also need to be fair because jobs actually rose under Trump prior to the coronavirus pandemic, leading to shutdowns and job losses, right? So the rise prior to the coronavirus pandemic in terms of manufacturing jobs was about 450,000 manufacturing jobs. So the way he implemented the tariffs in his term wasn't as disastrous as everyone predicted they would be. He's now throwing out some pretty crazy numbers in regard to the types of tariffs that he would add on that do sound a bit much. But I just wanted to point out that portion of the conversation because I think it was a good example of him showing that he's not necessarily suffering cognitive decline. It's just that he's a poor communicator. Now, what did the Biden administration do once Biden was elected, inaugurated, and able to lead the country? Did he do away with the tariffs? No. In fact, by the end of 2022, the Biden administration was blocking exports of advanced manufacturing equipment and semiconductors to Beijing while revving up US manufacturing, which, by the way, I gave Biden a lot of credit for. I thought that was a good move. When it comes to the CHIPS Act, developing and manufacturing the chips here in the United States is important and a good thing to do. Foreign policy continues to write that in many ways, that was a continuation of the Trump policy of seeking to deny advanced chips to Chinese companies, blocking Huawei Technologies from cornering the global market for 5G telecommunications, and wooing Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., a global leader in the technology industry, to build semiconductor factories in the United States. And then finally, Biden won congressional approval to spend as much as $600 billion in the coming years to subsidize companies that build factories domestically to make semiconductors, electric vehicles, electric batteries, and other green technologies. I give you this information because Biden saw that Trump did something that was actually working, and he expanded on it. And Biden deserves credit for that. He absolutely does. Finally, Trump bragged about how he negotiated with Boeing to significantly lower the price of remodeling 2 planes that were supposed to serve as the new Air Force One. So let's take a look at that portion of the interview.
When I first sat down, a general came into my office and he said, "Sir, it's nice to meet you. Would you please sign this?" I said, "What is it?" It's a contract for a new Air Force One, which is actually 2 planes, not 1, 2 Boeing 747. And I said, "How much is it?" $5.7 billion. So it's a hell of an expensive plane, but there's reasons for that. And he said, "Nope, I'm not signing it." I met with the head of Boeing. "Wait, Dennis." I said, "Dennis, you got to have a 3. 5.7 is too much. 5.7 billion. He said, "The most I'll take off is $400 million. I said, "Well, that's not bad for one conversation." So I got it down. I said, "Nope, I'm not accepting." Then he took off 2 more. Then he took off. Anyway, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. I thought we blew the deal, and it was okay with me. I didn't care. Calls back, said, "Sir, $3,999,999,999.99 cents. 1 penny above below $4 billion. So I said, you got yourself a deal.
And when I heard that portion of the interview, I'm going to just be honest about my own biases. I didn't believe him. I'm like, he loves to brag about being a great deal maker. There's no way this happened. I'm not buying it at all. So I did fact check it and was pretty shocked to find Boeing's deal for Air Force One, which was cut by then CEO. He remembered the guy's name, Dennis Muhlenberg, requires the company, not the federal government, to eat the cost of any overruns on the contract. Boeing reported a net loss of $1.2 billion for the first quarter of 2022, when a charge of $660 million associated with delays and higher costs for the Air Force One program. So not only did Trump cut the cost to the US taxpayer for remodeling these planes, he also cut a deal to ensure that if there are any delays, Boeing pays for those delays rather than the US taxpayer or the US government. So he deserves credit there. But I give you that example because what he just relayed to the public is not, in my opinion, an example of someone suffering from cognitive decline. So I just think media look, political figures obviously are going to try to find some narrative. They're going to orchestrate it in order to hurt him politically. But I think it's far more effective to hit Trump on things that are real, okay? Donald Trump talking about, retaliation against his political opponents. What Donald Trump has done in regard to overturning Roe v. Wade and the real world impacts that has had on real human beings across this country. Okay, the fact that he still today refuses to drop the fact that he did lose the 2020 presidential election and he did try to overturn the election, not simply with a Capitol riot, but with a fake electors plot. He is a target-rich environment. And what the media is doing when they put out these false narratives is they end up losing trust among the public. Gallup just put out their latest poll on media trust in America, and it is literally at an all-time low. The last time it hit a record was in 2016 when about 36% of Americans said that they trust the media. Now it's down to 32%, and that's a problem. Because if you have a voter base that doesn't trust the press, well, then that creates openings for nefarious actors to put out all sorts of disinformation, misinformation. You can't have a well-functioning democracy if A, the media isn't doing its job in accurately informing the public about the candidates and what they're offering and what their downfalls are. And it's also going to lead to, conspiracy theories and all sorts of nefarious so-called news sources being more trusted by the public than sources that would actually do a better job because they have resources and the ability to do a better job in covering the news. And the other thing that drives me crazy is, and by the way, that's not just a comment on left-wing media, that's a comment on media overall. The right wing provides cover for his foibles. The left wing sometimes makes things up when they don't really need to. There's a lot of real world things that they can attack him on. And my biggest issue is, since you have these two sides and you have this media bubble situation happening, you have an electorate that's totally split because everyone lives in a completely different reality. Everyone's getting different information that's not necessarily accurate at all. Now, I should also note, while Trump saved the federal government a little bit of money when it came to remodeling Air Force One, let's not forget that he increased this country's debt by 33%, okay? He increased the debt to the tune of $8.4 trillion. He borrowed $8.4 trillion during his administration. So trillion dollars. That's a lot of money. So for the deficit hawks, for those who are concerned about debt, he wasn't really great when it came to lowering debt or doing anything about the deficit here in the US. But again, the fact that Trump remembered the minute details of a deal that he made with Boeing over Air Force One, to me, provides an example that he's not suffering from the same cognitive decline that Biden was, but he is suffering from all sorts of declines when it comes to quality of life for Americans as a result of his policies, some of his policies. And I think that is where Democrats should be focusing. They're going to lose trust among the electorate if they make things up. And so, again, the cognitive decline thing, I think, is a pretty weak argument. But I do think that if you want to focus on some of the terrible things he's done, there's a lot to choose from. So just be honest about it and report accurately about what he did right and what he did wrong. It's that simple.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.